Hi everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. It is finally probably about as warm as it's going to get today. It's right around 39 degrees here in the Rogue Valley, and while that's probably warm for a good part of the country, it is not here. But I had to venture out and see what FedEx had left me on the porch. Or I should correct that, I had to venture out and open. I already know what this is. This is going to be a saw that gets fully restored and added to the collection eventually, from a series that I don't have a huge representation of in my collection, but I'm working on that. There are certain saws, and at this point I'm talking about those big 7 cubic inch models from the late 60s and early 70s that are just, if you're a collector, you gotta have them. And I really resisted for quite a long time just because they're so damn expensive. But by now, you guys ought to have a pretty decent idea of what I'm talking about here. Oh man, custom spike. I am loving this. Alright, I think that's everything. But this was a well-packed saw, and I certainly appreciate that. So, it's obviously been repainted. Well, maybe it's not obvious in the video. Let me dismount this camera real quick. I'll try not to shake you guys around too terribly much. This has been repainted. The story, as I got it from the seller and anybody else who read the eBay auction, was that this saw was repaired and partially restored for a gentleman who decided he didn't need it and couldn't afford it, basically. So it went for sale on eBay. So those guys that are really into this, you can see this cover and you know damn good and well what it is we're looking at right now. We'll end the suspense. 2100S, and it looks like some sort of goo got smeared on there, but that should be a 1970 model. Yeah, looks like the serial number is not going to tell us the production, because that can't possibly be right. I don't think Homelite ever produced 3,000 saws in one day, but in any case, this is a complete 2100S. You can see that the muffler is intact, the muffler shield is intact, the throttle handle brace intact. The worst damage that I can tell is that little guy right there, and the bolt is still holding just fine. I've seen that where the bolt housing's cracked out. Obviously this bolt has been replaced. Hopefully the threads aren't stripped and I can get a regular Allen head back in there. All in all, it's a pretty good base for a project here. But the prep work on the repaint, as I'm looking at it up close, is pretty non-existent. Looks like it was basically just cleaned and sprayed. So once I've had my fun with it, and that means, yes, I'm going to put a bar and chain on it and do a little cutting, this thing will get a full disassembly, go into the blaster, and get cleaned up so it can be done right. But this was sold as a running saw. And you guys watched me open the box. We're going to put a little fuel in this bad boy, and we're going to find out if it's a runner. That would be a pleasant surprise. Even when it's explicitly stated as being a runner on eBay, I try not to get my hopes up. For the simple fact that we have probably all experienced getting a saw in that was supposed to be a runner and it turns out it isn't. The hose has definitely been replaced here. That's part of what I wanted to look at. And it had fuel in it right up until the minute it was shipped. In fact, there's still a little drizzle in there. Noticing the throttle rod grommet is non-existent, which is basically what you'd expect on a saw this age. The repaint went right over the rubber grommets. Looks like nothing was really removed from the throttle handle, so this will take some cleanup work when it's time to do some repainting. Duckbill's missing from this cap, so I won't turn the saw on its side. And the latching mechanism for the decomp is broken off, which is, again, no big surprise. I may have some of those rat-holed away somewhere. In fact, there's part of one right there that I think was for the 2000 that's in the attic. But, one thing at a time. Let's see if we can get this thing to run. That decomp is working, but this hasn't even tried to prime. Oh, that's stiff as a board. That's interesting. Now, to be fair, I think the seller indicated that after it had been sitting a while, whatever a while is, that it took a prime to get it going. Well, we'll try it. I mean, the reality is, the worst this is going to need is a carb kit if we get it to fire on the prime. And that's not the end of the world. That ought to be enough to flood it initially and then hopefully start it. I'll be damned. I saw it prime the hose here. Let's see if we can get this thing going. Huh. Got a little spit back here. something came loose in the carb in the sense that it's drawing fuel a little better. Whatever, that's basically what was advertised, so I'm pretty stoked right now, and I mean, that thing sounds awesome. Yeah, as it was running right up here at the top of the fuel hose, it's clear, so I could see a bunch of air bubbles collecting right up here, so there's penetration into the system somewhere. And the hose that's in the tank is stiff as a board. I mean, we're talking rock hard, so there's some work that'll need to be done there before I even take it out and run it, in all likelihood. But this carb's going to get pulled down. My initial thought here is that the inlet needle and seat either have some debris in them or they're just worn out and not sealing properly. That's just the way it takes a prime to get it going like that. These things have such bloody much compression that there's really no reason for that. I'll check the other reed valves and all of that. This was clearly off for the paint, and I think, where the heck, I just saw it, there it is. Yeah, there's silicone down in here, so at least one of these gaskets on the carb adapter, the reed valve, was replaced with a silicone, which, yeah, I suppose you can, but I'm not going to. I'm sure I can find some gaskets. So my mental checklist includes now the appropriate screws for here, the clamps for the decompression valve, even though it will hold right there, amazingly. I don't know if somebody bent it down to make that work or if that's just dumb luck. Looks like we're going to need a rim sprocket at some point in here. Do an inspection on the clutch, but nothing's super loose or anything. Must not be any oil in it because it didn't try to pump a drop of oil out in that test run. That sounds dry as a popcorn fart, so. And it is. So whether the tank has a leak or it was just never filled, God only knows. The clutch cover's missing a nice big chunker right there. But luckily I'm a pack rat and I save things I might need. This is a repainted 1050 cover. Well, what do you know? They match. How lucky is that? Man, it is tight against that full wrap handle, but there we are. Already looks better. And just for grins, I do have, like I say, I don't sell everything I get. That would be stupid because I'm a collector too. I do have a bar and chain that's available for this saw. We'll just see how it looks. I have a sneaking suspicion that this saw is going to make an appearance at the spring get-together with TJ. Almost seems like it would be terrible not to. In fact, this video might be motivation. If I remember right, his 2100 that we ran had some, I think it was needing a little bit of carburetor work. So hopefully, this will be motivation. How cool would that be to see a couple of 2100s side by side? This chain is not anything special. It's full complement semi, I wouldn't even call that semi chisel, that's just regular old goofy chain. This is chipper chain. So it's certainly not the fastest thing on the planet. But, I don't know about you guys, I think that's going to look pretty damn good. And then this spike, I love these custom West Coast spikes. This one's not quite as well done as some that I've seen, but it's been integrated into the handle mount down here. So this is one of the handle bolts. We'll get that back up on there, and then this will actually lift the hold the end, the whole power head up with that long bar on there, and it'll keep the front end of the saw off the ground. So this is just something that somebody built, and actually, I mean, it's done well. When I said cooler ones, like my old 900D, they built a tripod off of the bottom spike so that it really holds it up off the ground nice, and they just look wicked mean. But anyhow, there it is, a 1970 Homelite 2100S that will be seen here running soon, doing some wood cutting, and then torn down and repainted and added to the collection.